Hey guys, welcome to the Polka Dots Hare Scramble. This is technically round 4 of the D14 Hare Scrambles Series for 2019. It's supposed to be round 5, but Valley, round 4, was actually canceled. It's been rescheduled for October, but I guess that makes this round 4 now. I decided to show up on the two-stroke today. Yeah, same old bike. Started 4 times in the morning, first kick, and of course when it comes time to race, it doesn't want to start. So I got the worst start ever again, and now I've got to pick my way through. I think there was 24, 25 riders or something in our class today, and I was on a mission. You know, I've been riding well enough this year that I really wanted to know if it's the 4-stroke or the 2-stroke that was allowing me to perform the way that I have been. And, you know, other than the start, I don't think it's the bike. But, yeah, I was having a good ride today. Just so you know, all 20-some minutes of this video is the entire race. The opening title scene there may give you some indication of what will happen, but it'll be right at the end of the video. So as usual, Polka Dots is super fun race. I just passed Deck there on the left. I've seen that little snippet of his video, and I've never seen anyone else's videos where I was that close to him on the gas, and this bike sounds pretty good. So there's Stanko right in front of me. Like I said, I was somewhere around, or I was dead last, you know, however many people there was in our class. And so I've caught up to several people. And Stanko doesn't necessarily always get the best starts. He's right there in the black for those of you that don't know him. He doesn't necessarily get the best starts, but he's a very consistent rider, and he always finds his way to the front by the end of the race. So I figured, you know, he'll finish top 5, so I figured, you know, even with my bad start, if I just stay with him, then I'll be fine. So as you can see, I mean, there's carnage everywhere. This is the first lap. We're bypassing scoring this time because, you know, this was only about a half a lap, and scoring's right here, so they routed us to the left. So I guess technically the first lap was roughly a lap and a half. Of course, today was 6 miles. And, you know, in typical Polka Dots fashion, the motocross track is always awesome. It's a really fun track. For those of you that don't ride motocross but wouldn't mind coming out, Polka Dots has a heck of a motocross track, and it's one of them that, even though there are some big jumps, you know, they're fairly forgiving. You know, it's you've got to screw up pretty bad to get injured on this motocross track. So it makes it kind of fun to be able to come out here and hit these jumps and not worry too much about crashing. So right there, you know, right before the race, we were told, you know, if you're going to roll the jumps, stay off to one side, don't cross over. And that guy was in the middle of the track and came out to the outside as I was getting ready to jump. So yeah, had a few close calls here. But if you watched my video from last year, you know, I knew that I could hit some of these jumps. I just didn't fully commit. And, you know, some of these tabletops, I was coming close to clearing the tops of them. And I definitely would have had my race lasted longer. But really, I was just trying to feel out my speed so I wasn't, you know, bombing it right past the jumps, so like I did at Battle Creek on the 4-stroke. But yeah, so we're about to get off the motocross track. Right there got real hairy. I almost had to close my eyes there. This spot here, always super soft, loomy, deep sand. It's tough to get through this. Yeah, it'd be nice if this was somehow packed down a little bit more, but you know, it's normally their starting gate area, so the chances of that ever happening are slim to none. The rest of the track was, I don't know, I want to say it was basically the same as it usually is. There was definitely some new stuff. The thing I was a little bit, not upset about, but that I was, I guess, a little confused about, for lack of better words, is they cut out their enduro section. And besides the motocross track here, the enduro section of this track it's one of the best of all the tracks that we come to. So I was definitely a little disappointed that we did not hit anything on it. They just completely eliminated it. I was trying to squeeze past him before he closed the door, but I wasn't able to get going fast enough to do that. Luckily, I didn't run into him, and he let me by as soon as I got there, or as soon as he got around that corner. But yeah, the track, you know, again, typical Polka Dots, super rough track. You know, there's down logs, there's roots everywhere. The terrain itself is rough and bumpy. You know, a lot of guys, you know, saying that it just beat them up, and this track does that. Yeah, the suspension on this bike it's set up for my weight. Before I had the 4-stroke done, I always felt like the suspension was pretty good on this. Really wondering how much oil I've got in the forks after this race. This is the first time I've ridden this bike except for at the Mines ride since October of last year. And because of that, I really wasn't, you know, I have it all set up very similar to the 4-stroke, but the forks for sure, they didn't feel soft. They just didn't feel like they had the dampening that they should have. So on some of the big jumps, it was bottoming out pretty hard. So here's Stanko again right here. I squeaked past him, and yeah, I got past a few slower guys. Most of the guys that we're seeing here are row 9, 10, and 11. There's not many guys from row 12. Right there, I hit a root or something that just kicked my front end off to the side, and yeah, lost 2 more places. Let Stanko back by. That's all right. He and I duked it out pretty good most of the day, or well, most of my race. Yeah, he was riding good, and I was having fun racing with him. Normally, or at least this season, I don't want to say normally, but this season I have been getting maybe a little bit better starts than Stanko does, so I don't normally see him until closer to the ends of the races, and so it was kind of fun being able to race with him right at the beginning of the race, just in the middle of all the chaos that is typical for the first lap. But yeah, track was rough, but fun, and yeah, I don't know, it'd be nice to see a little bit of a change of scenery here, because like I said, it feels pretty much the same as usual, but I understand, you know, you've got property constraints. You only have so much room to work with. It's kind of similar, I guess, to Portland. You know, they, like I said, they had a 6-mile track here today. You know, Portland is typically one of the shorter tracks on the circuit, and you know, that's normally around 4 miles. Yeah, it's when you only have so much land, it's hard to make things feel new. So just squeezing by a couple guys there, tucking it in. I don't really think I got too much else to say, so I'm just gonna kind of be quiet and watch the video with you, and anything that kind of pops up, I'll just kind of talk about it. So enjoy. One downside to this track today for sure was most of the track felt tight. It was tough to pass people. There's a couple areas here that the lines kind of spread out, but they're so short that unless the person that you're trying to get around stops, it's pretty tough to actually make a pass on somebody in this. And of course, being that it's the first lap, nobody knows who's who as far as, who's behind them, whatever. So no one's getting out of the way, which, I'm not going to get upset about it. I wouldn't get out of the way for anybody on the first lap either. But, yeah, it's, the track definitely felt tighter today, compared to, other races that we've had here. And it's possible that just because the clear cut section back in the field area there, the trail itself just seemed a little narrow, where in recent years it's all been clear cut, so the grass has been lower and it's been easier to see. So Stanko is still just one rider ahead of me. So like I said, my whole goal with having him in my sights is just keep him in my sights. If I just keep his pace, I knew that I would be okay and finish somewhere around top 5 anyways. I had no idea what place I was actually in. I will say, with all the recent races that I've done on the 4-stroke, the sound of the 2-stroke is nice to hear. I don't have anything negative to say about the 4-stroke, except the sound of it on camera. It gets a little boring, Just sounds kind of like a fart all the time. Right here, we got a bottleneck going down this hill here. And yeah, I mean, maybe it was kind of a dick move to go past those two, but they weren't in my class. And like I said, I wanted to stay with Stanko, and I knew that I was capable of riding faster than they were riding. So I had not a whole lot of guilt about going around them, and no one was hollering, so I guess they were okay with it too. Little off-camber stuff here. Nothing too crazy. I'm sure as the day went on, it might have gotten a little bit crazy down there. As the hill kind of erodes away, the off-camber stuff gets a little bit steeper. But we rode this section last year too, and as long as you're careful, it was totally fine. But it is a little bit scary. You're riding fairly close to the edge of that riverbank, and it's a decent, probably 10-foot drop if you go into the water there before you hit the water. So if you went off the edge, it could not be awesome. some of you might be wondering why I chose to bring the two-stroke to this race, especially being that I haven't raced it all year. And to be perfectly honest, the Valley race, I had this bike all prepared for. I had intended on racing this bike at that track all year. And potentially one or two other races this year. I never intended to ride the four-stroke all season. As this season has progressed, I've realized that the four-stroke really is not any heavier than the two-stroke is, which was my big concern. The gas tank on my two-stroke is about a gallon bigger than the four-stroke. So there's only about 8 pounds difference between the two bikes. And so with that extra gallon of gas and the two-stroke, there's really not any weight savings between them. Now, you might not have seen it on the video there, but a guy goes way off to the left when we turned in by the trees there. This guy on the white bike there went all the way around, just a nice, lazy, sweeping corner, and I thought he was going to skip back in and get ahead of all of us. Luckily, I'm glad that he stopped and did not take those positions. But, yeah, I was a little bit irritated about that. Like I said, he didn't gain any positions, so I was looking back at it now, like I was yelling about it, but I'm good with what happened. Technically, he should have stopped when he realized he missed that corner and turned around, but whatever. It is what it is. We all miss turns now and then. But again, yeah, with the two-stroke, I wanted to ride it because, like I said, I had it set up for the Valley race. And one of the things that I did with this bike right at the end of the season last year, I never raced it. I put a G2 throttle tamer on this bike. And I was hoping that, it'd give me better throttle control, which it did. With all the roots and logs and stuff on this track, it would have been nice to have the four-stroke because I have a little bit more throttle control on that bike than this one. But either way, it was fine. Watch Stanko real close coming up here. I think it's coming up in just a second. Yeah, right here. I don't know how he didn't go down, but he'll catch back up to me in about 10 seconds. Just being stuck behind these slower guys, he caught right back up. But, that was kind of the fun stuff with riding with him. We're not perfect riders. And, it's just kind of fun to see some of the goofy mistakes that, happen. Of course, that's all about traction. It wasn't like he did anything wrong. But, back to the two-stroke. The G2 throttle tamer was the biggest reason why I brought this bike. I wanted to try it out, see what the throttle control was like on it, and that part of the bike I really, really liked. It did give me a lot more throttle control than with the stock throttle cam. Again, the biggest issue was that it didn't start. And simple fact of the matter is that what happens at the end of this video may not have happened if I was on the four-stroke, because I would not have started as slowly as I did, and so I would have been in a different location. Yeah, it is what it is. We'll, I guess, chalk it up to bad luck. But, yeah, I don't really plan on racing this bike again this year. Going into this race, I believe I was sitting 5th in points. With the short season that we've got this year, we only have one throwaway race, so this is definitely going to be mine. So I think to preserve points, I will probably just commit to using the 4-stroke only for the rest of the season. You know, this bike is a lot of fun. For whatever reason, I cannot get this thing to start on the line. And yeah, when you're in a race where you have to do a dead start, it's not any fun. That guy and I both went into that turn together. We bumped handlebars. We didn't collide. And he was yelling at me like I did something on purpose. Like, well, I've already passed you twice. I'm not gonna get stuck back behind you again. Especially not when Stanko got back past me on the left side there going over that log. I've got to stay with him, and I can't afford to get stuck behind all the slower riders and lose track of them, because it's a lot easier to stay with somebody if you've got them in your sights. If they get out of your sight, it's a lot harder to try and reel them in, because you don't know what pace to set to, and honestly, it's trying to get guys out of your way. So you kind of have to stay right on each other's tail. I did buy a neck brace, finally. 3 seasons riding with no neck brace. I finally decided to go ahead and buy one. I was hoping that it would have been here before this race, and it didn't show up. It did show up today, so I've got it for the National coming up next weekend at Battle Creek. And yeah, just let you guys know I am okay. I crashed here at the end, and I was okay. The bike was okay. The front end felt a little bit funny after I crashed, but I don't actually think there's anything wrong with the bike. I think it was my arm. I landed really hard on my left side, and I think that it was just kind of, my muscles were hurting after the crash, and so it felt strange. And rather than push my luck and try to continue, having lost a ton of time, I said I'm just going to call it quits after the crash, and decided to keep myself, somewhat together for the National coming up next week. So yeah, now we're back out on the motocross track, and we're going to try and go for it. Let's see here. We're going to be after the next corner. I think we get into the whoop section, and we go over a little jump, and then there's a second set of whoops, and Stanko's going to lose his silencer. Boy, that bike is loud without a silencer on it. Overjumped that a little bit, but right there. There it goes. And yeah, I was honestly worried that he could potentially blow his top end, because it definitely leaned that bike out. But he runs like 24-to-1 oil. So he has plenty of lubrication in that bike. I don't know if he got his silencer back or not. Yeah, when I left yesterday, he was gonna go try and find it. I don't know if he found it or not. But yeah, this again, this was real fun, just racing him. I got stuck in just a little bit of loomy stuff right on the right side there, and he just blew right past me. And I hate that. Guys go slower through corners than you would like to, but then when you get a straightaway, their bike is just as fast as yours, so it's almost impossible to get around them. And again, a rider that I believe is not in my class. Now, you know, I said I had no idea what place I was in. I did not look at the monitor. I never do. But after the race, talking with the guys, Dave Whipp said that he got the whole shot and he held the lead the whole race. Stanko, I am 99% positive, got second place. And he said that he was in second place going through there on the first lap. So I had no idea. I had gone from dead last to third place in one lap. So, yeah, I really kind of now wish that I had kept going, but it is what it is. I made the call that I did, and, you know, a big part of me is glad that I did, because I've got some major bruising on my thighs, and I'm sure it wouldn't have been my only crash for the day, so it was probably a good thing that I stopped, even though I was sitting third place when I crashed. This stuff was all really soft and loomy on the first lap, and by the second lap here, it was getting compressed in and starting to feel really good. Here we go, we're coming up to the end. This guy in front of me, he jumps that one and he decides to roll this. And look, he's coming over to the right side, right in front of me, and there's nothing I can do. And right there, I think my back tire clipped his handlebars and it threw my front end straight into the ground. Knocked the wind out of myself and just roll. Barrel roll, get off the track. So, yeah, that's it. I hope you guys like the video. I will see you guys at Battle Creek next weekend with the 4-stroke. Thanks for watching.